Welcome to the Qualitalks Podcast, a show about pharma and GMP. The pharmaceutical industry is a fascinating and complex field, and it takes countless people to bring a product to the market. In this podcast, we bring you some of the industry's brightest minds who will share their wisdom with you. And now, please welcome your host, Jan Kugel.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Qualitalks podcast. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Pavan Pasupulati, the Vice President of Manufacturing Excellence at Caliber Technologies. With over 25 years of experience in both the process and IT industries, Pavan has become a key figure in driving digital transformation within pharmaceutical manufacturing. His expertise in lab digitalization in Industry 4.0 has not only shaped his career but also empowered countless organizations to change their operations. In this episode, we'll explore Pavan's insights on the common challenges GMP professionals face when implementing Industry 4.0 solutions, as well as the emerging technologies poised to reshape the pharmaceutical landscape, and Pavan's personal journey through impactful projects that have contributed to his success. So, Pavan, welcome to the Qualitalks podcast. How are you
Hi,
doing?
Ann. All well, Ann, and it's my pleasure actually to interact with you today.
Thank you, Pavan. And before we go to your journey and the projects, your job function at Caliber is sounds very fascinating. Vice Presidents of Technology and Excellence. So, what does it stand? What do you do in the organization? Because it sounds so fascinating.
Yes, and so as the Vice President of Manufacturing Excellence at Caliber, my role involves in cultivating a deep understanding of market trends, customer needs, and emerging technologies to inspire and guide our product development process. I focus on developing and communicating a clear and compelling vision for our manufacturing products that's backed up by strong execution strategy. Building dynamic teams and concentrating on innovation are also key facets of my role. There are teams which are focused on business development, product engineering, project delivery, and the customer support, which I oversee as part of my responsibility as Vice President of Manufacturing Excellence. In a nutshell, my goal is to maintain a 360-degree overview of business growth, profitability, customer satisfaction, and associate engagement.
Yes, so it sounds fascinating and complicated, challenging at once, and I think it's a very rewarding role to have so much impact on the organization. So, uh, what brought you to this position? So that's what I also want to explore with you. So you have been in the industry for over 25 years now, right? And
Yeah.
you specialized in various functions in the manufacturing and quality, like lab digitalization and implementing the Industry 4.0. And you had so many great positions throughout your career, right? So, what were the key milestones in your career that brought you to the position where you're at right now?
It has been, as you rightly said, a very enriching learning experience that I had for the last 25 years. And I'm continuing to learn as we speak. If I were to look back at my career, I can group that into three segments largely. First 5 years, it has been practicing the chemical engineering in the process industries. I have developed good understanding of the unit processes, unit operations in fertilizers and also in petrochemicals, refineries, pharmaceuticals during this period. This formed a strong foundation for me to get transition into the application engineering and IT. And the next 10 years, I have been mainly focused on implementing laboratory information management systems, the manufacturing execution systems, innovation management systems, and several other IT applications which I had opportunity to implement for global customers. So during this particular time, I have learned that for any successful project, it is important to have very good domain understanding. So if I am delivering a project in a refinery, I would need to really have a good domaining understanding of how the oil and gas domain works. And if similarly, if I'm implementing a project in petrochemicals or like in pharmaceuticals, I would need to understand the overall business process and the domain of the pharmaceutical. So that way, I will be able to effectively make the communication and also like able to involve with the users and develop the deep knowledge of that particular area and combine that with the application that is being implemented. So the learning what I had is to have a good blend of the domain expertise, the application expertise, so that we are able to effectively implement the project within the timelines. So this is one of the key learning that I had while I was doing the implementation of several projects. The last 10 years, I have been looking at consulting with the customers mainly in the field of the lab digitalization, the digitalization on the shop floor, and also like looking at the latest technologies, how we can bring that value to the customers. So these are the things which actually have influenced my career and brought me to this particular position. So some of the key projects which have influenced my learnings in this journey, there are several of them, but like if I were to call three of such programs, the implementation which I did for a global pharmaceutical customer way back in 2005, that is something like a which had four different sites where I was responsible to develop a learning content of like about 50 hours, which was combination of web learning and also the classroom training. So I personally traveled to the different sites of the customer where I had opportunity to interact with the scientists who are actually working in the laboratories and then implemented the laboratory information management system. The second experience, which I really like, I would like to call out, which had a great influence on me, is rolling out a manufacturing execution system for a semiconductor customer. So there, the entire process is completely different with discrete manufacturing. And we were collaborating with a product partner. So that was a kind of experience which really helped me to understand the different facets that are involved in implementing a solution at the shop floor. And the third one, which I would like to call upon, is the laboratory transformation program, where we had to construct the different test methods, basically like which are having the detailed execution of all the different steps within the execution of an experiment and put that into the system so that there is a method, the guided method execution, which the analysts are able to follow. So these are some of the programs which actually like have helped me to interact very closely with the diverse teams and help to understand the user perspective so that like we are really able to deliver the value. So to get into this position, like these are some of things which have really helped me, and I really thoroughly enjoy interacting with the customers, understanding their pain points, and then trying to see how we can really like put a solution that fits their needs.
Right. And a lot of those projects were establishing different digital solutions with the clients in pharma, right? And right now there is the general name for the digitalization, the Pharma 4.0, right? So there is a lot under this definition. So how do you define this in your words? What does it mean for you bringing the manufacturing facility to 4.0? What does it mean?
But right. Okay. So I think like the industry 4.0 was predominantly the concept on how we came from generation one, two, three, and then we are at four. So we are actually blessed to be having the kind of a technology advancement that we are able to experience now. So if I were to look at the inheritance of the industry 4.0 for pharma, which we also call it as the pharma 4.0, the fundamental principles like which actually remain in terms of the interoperability of the connected devices, the decentralized decision making, visualization of the data, and then like also like trying to bring more of the insights from the data that actually like is residing. So the way that I would look at for the farmer perspective is how are we really like able to utilize this in the manufacturing lines if I were to look at using the connected devices, if I were to look at getting the insights of the batch production that would happen, the critical process parameters which really like have to be monitored so that we are able to like move towards a golden batch. So this is how like I interpret on inheriting the Industry 4.0 concepts into pharma, and our solutions also like will have to be aligned to that to marry the advancements which are there in the technology and then provide that benefits back to the customers.
Right. And I have also seen at some point that people already speak about Pharma 5.0. Is it something that you are familiar with? Is it something that is a far fetched reality at the moment? Or it
I
is it actually that some companies already move into it? And what does it mean actually?
so I mean, like, my understanding is that while like we have 4.0, 5.0, and then like subsequently some of the other things may really rope in. The way I really look at it is we have already like if we look at the overall chain of how we sense the data and then like how we gather that particular data and how we are able to visualize the data and then like how we are able to act on that particular data. So these are the fundamental principles which will still remain as part of the overall chain of the activities which any of the specific operations would typically constitute of. Then these are some things which are enriched by the technology components. Then like we are able to bring the artificial intelligence, machine learning, where like we are able to use that for quick decision making. Now we are also looking at generative AI. So if we are going to call that also combining with the network speed and other things, and like I look at the 5.0, then obviously I mean like there are steps that we are taking towards it, and probably like some of the industry pioneers are also looking in that direction. But what I believe is to really like a look at what is coming next and then quickly bring that into address the challenges that are really faced in the shop floor. So that's how I really like see it, and that's my perspective on the next phases of this series, that is 5.0 or the next subsequent things.
And can pharma companies go directly to the different stages? So let's say some company is at the moment paper based in a lot of functions. So is it possible to directly jump to the latest version of pharma by establishing the right function immediately, or there are some steps to it that one has to go through first 4.0, then upgrade to 5.0, or is it something that can happen immediately?
Yeah, in my opinion, first, I think like we should definitely look at making from the paper the way like which you stated. First, to get that into a digital format, say like we bring that into the electronic format. So there are certain information systems that like which need to be in place. So if we were to look at the digital maturity of each of the particular customers, it could be at different levels. So the way I would think we should approach that is to draw out a digital roadmap for the customer, depending on the state where they are. If like they will have to go and take the first step of digitization, where like you are able to make that electronic. Then like you have information processing, where like you are making in terms of digitalization, where you are also going to get your the historical data and the current data. Then look at the digital transformation. So the digital transformation, obviously, like where you are using more of your knowledge. So the first two stages, you are looking at data and then like at the information. The third one, you are looking at the knowledge. So I would not think that somebody could directly jump in without really like having the strong foundation layer that's built. So in my opinion, it should be that the customer would need to take appropriate steps, especially like if you look at the pharma perspective. that like how do we move away from the manual and paper-based activities into electronic, and then like use those systems to collect that particular information and then jump into the transformation where the information that's collected becomes knowledge, and that knowledge can be used to empower the decision. So that's how like I would see it in terms of the digital transformation.
Okay, that's a good insight. It's all about doing the right planning, right? And
Exactly.
you have been involved, as you said, in many such projects of implementing digital solutions. So, what would you say are the biggest challenges that you've seen with your clients in pharma companies when it comes to implementing such pharma 4.0 solutions?
The first and foremost challenge, which I think like which is very almost I would say known to everyone, but still remains to be the first and foremost challenge is the inertia from the personnel who are involved in the project to adopt the newer ways of working. So that inertia is one of the key challenge in terms of the people element and the apprehensions which the typical users will have. What is it really like going to impact? So am I really going to have my job or like it's going to go away? So these are first and foremost kind of challenges which are typically there. And like this is something like which almost the experience in majority of the projects. Barring that, so if we look at from the information systems, like at the legacy systems especially, the legacy systems which are like a golden technology and the ones which were developed in the past, so getting those talking to the newer systems, they pose kind of technical challenges. And when I looked at some of the projects which I personally have experienced, where the equipments are legacy in nature, so they may not be 21 CFR part level compliant. They may not offer the kind of sophistication in terms of integrating and getting the data. So those are some of the challenges from the equipment point of view and the legacy systems point of view. If we look at into the operations point of view, especially like when someone works in pharma, it could be different departments. Like you have the warehouse, and then like you have the quality control, quality assurance, and then the manufacturing. So there are many lab logbooks which are maintained. So these logbooks are quite large in number. So there could be several formats which probably are the same, but still they are large in number because there is a duplication of all these logbooks. So that is one of the challenge which actually like comes into picture for the users to understand. Yes, I mean, how can we harmonize these logs, bring that number down, and then like yes, still try to use that electronic system to get used to working with the newer ways of working. So that's another challenge from the operations point of view. And if I look at the batch records itself, there could be the batch records which could be running into several hundred of pages, say like 100 pages and 120 pages, so on and so forth. So that's something like a which probably like a need to be refined, not really like a compromising on any of the compliance aspect, but really like a to see how we can optimize those records, making sure that there is no kind of a violation on the compliance aspect and also the process aspect of it, and then like I try to bring that into the electronic system. So these are some of the things which I felt in terms of the people, in terms of the process, in terms of the equipments, which have posed the challenges which I have experienced in some of the projects that I have delivered. And the other point, not the least, that the representation which is required to be there from various departments when a particular program is really like a being taking off. So that representation basically ensures that there is a collective thinking. At the same time, there is also some kind of the nuances which can be addressed right at the beginning of the program. So these are some of the things which I experienced as challenges, and of course, like maybe I spoke some of the solutions, but these are some of the challenges which I experienced.
Right. And you mentioned already some ideas for solutions, but what is your personal approach to navigating such complexity. So when you meet with clients that they have all those challenges and they might be anxious to start with transition from legacy system from paper because there is a lot to overcome. They need to keep themselves updated and comply with different GMP regulations and validations. So what is your roadmap to navigate those complexities? How do you start?
While engaging, or like at the way that I have approached, probably like with a few examples, which I would say is first making the customer understand on how this is really like going to simplify the job and what are the improvements that we can see in terms of the productivity and in terms of the efficiency and a lot of discussion that really like will be helpful to put the return on investment, which actually like makes the user or the customer to take that kind of a step to move from the current system. So that's one thing like which I would take as an approach, really navigating through the complexities. The second one is the pharma industry, as we all know, has direct influence from the regulatory guidelines, and these are evolving continuously. So, in my opinion, basically, like we need to provide more configurability in the software applications to address these complexities. So when we explain on how the platform is really going to give that kind of flexibility for them to figure out and adapt that particular features on the current ways of working, how that can be really brought in. So that really like makes their job simpler. So which really paves the way for the project to move forward, and obviously the change management, which will have to happen at different levels. So once like you have the buy-in from the leadership team, then the benefits will have to percolate to all the different levels, and then like everybody sees the kind of a benefit that is going to come in, and eventually like that's how we are able to navigate and then move forward, and engaging all the different users and making sure that like we are able to communicate the benefits in terms of the usage of that solution will be my approach in navigating the complexities that we tend to get in the projects.
Great. Thank you for sharing your roadmap and how you approach, those solutions to those problems. So I do believe it sounds much simpler than it is because there is a lot of work and thinking and risk management and so on involved. But that's how you need to start. Looking at the big picture and then diving in and really analyzing each big and smaller changes within it, right? So I think that's a very good approach to that. And looking overall on pharma, how it progresses. So what emerging technologies do you think that will have the most significant impact on the pharmaceutical manufacturing, pharmaceutical quality in the next years?
Very good question, and I think like there is a, I would say, significant transformation that is coming our way, and that is what is the future of pharmaceutical manufacturing is. If we keep like looking at the newer technologies which are coming into the market and how there are use cases which are available across the different industry verticals, and the similar thing like which are the problems that need to be solved within pharma. The artificial intelligence is something like which is really like taking off, and we see already that many customers are really extensively using this, probably like in the research and development, and there are also a lot of use cases which are available even within the manufacturing as well. The data analytics and the digital twins, these are some of the things like which are definitely like going to have significant the contribution in the future of the pharmaceuticals. So the way I see the future in the years to come by, most of the newer lines which are actually going to come into production, I believe that a lot of the modern equipment are going to come onto the shop floor. So it could be a rapid mixer granulator, it could be a compressing machine, it could be auto coating machine, it could be the packaging machines. So they're all really like going to come very advanced for the newer lines which are going to come into production. And I also see that there will be an extensive use of the IoT and connected devices, which will provide the real-time data for monitoring the process parameters. Thereby, it is leading to the improved visibility. I would see a digital twins playing a kind of a large role where we can really look at optimizing and also like a troubleshooting without impacting the production. The artificial intelligence, which I said, the generative AI, where like there can be different use cases in terms of answering the questions which can come from the different users, and there could be object identification, and then there can be a kind of a summarization of the documents which are there, probably like which can be made more concise. There can be like some of the information that can come really like in a very quick way so that we are able to quickly take decisions. So within the generative AI itself, like there will be many use cases that we can really look at. So net, to summarize, I would see that the artificial intelligence, especially the generative AI and the machine learning use cases with the combination of the connected devices and the data insights are going to really like a play very large role, basically like to improve the productivity and providing additional data insights. So that's how I see the future in the years to come by.
Right. So thank you for those insights. So I do think that AI will play a huge role, and it is to be seen what hurdles will be there from the regulatory perspectives and how we can overcome it. But I do think this will be really a game changer, and we do see a lot of software companies starting to implement AI, for example, in QMS and uh, different I think even in limbs and such regard, and then risk management and so on. So I do think it will play a huge role. So I think we are in a dawn of AI, and we cannot run from it. We need to embrace it and see how we use it in full potential, right? And for the past almost 3 years, you have been working at Caliber, and Caliber specializes in uh, electronic batch records, right? So, and batch records are a huge deal in pharma, right? A lot of companies are still using paper, for example, right? So, where do you think this comes handy? Those automation and electronic batch records. So, how does establishing such processes and such tools can change the way pharmaceutical manufacturing works, and in which ways, like from time saving, regulation, being much more audit ready. So what is from your perspective in working with your clients so far, what do you see in this regard?
Yeah, I think like the electronic batch records is the crux of the entire manufacturing. So a batch right from the issuance till the closure of the batch after the production. So the entire batch life cycle is something like which is addressed by the Caliber solution, which is the electronic batch record. So the paper-based batch records which are currently be there, so we can really like look at in a staged manner, or like we can look at a kind of a holistic manner. So basically, it could be of any dosage type. So it can be the oral solid dosage, or like it could be injectables, or like ointments, or the nasal spray. So there can be different the dosage types, but uh, all of those process segments and other things, the configurability is that something which is there within the solution that we have. And this basically like improves the productivity of the shop floor operators. It also like makes sure that the manual errors, the transcription errors, the data integrity issues, those are some things like which are tremendously reduced. And we really have several examples where like we have delivered such project to the customers. And in terms of the audit trials, so each and every aspect of any change like which is made, that is something like which you will have the audit for each of those activities which are done within the system. And also, someone can try really like validating the batches before it is really like a run on the production. So those are some of the things which are there like as part of the features, and it is also something like which we can do it in stages. So first we can look at paper on glass, then like we can look at the electronic logs which can be coming into the digitization, and then the in-process quality checks, and then the entire batch records. So it can be a staged approach or it can be a holistic approach. So that's how like we can really help from the compliance point of view. So all that data which is required to be presented as part of the batch dossier, so that gets directly generated from the system. So there are several features and other things which are there as part of this solution, and this is really like a well accepted and being used by several customers of ours.
And do you see also AI being part of it in the future,
Uh,
in the batch
Thank
record?
you so much for asking that question. Yes, we do. We are going to bring Gen AI component on top of this solution. So basically, like that is something like which is going to be there within the applications where there is some kind of an approval that need to be taken. So if the user would need to, if the particular manager need to have some data that's available before he takes the decision. So those are something like which it can bring it, and it also will have several other use cases which is going to be. So I will probably like reveal more of this when we are going to launch it. But yes, as you rightly asked, this is there on the cards, and we are going to bring that into each of the Caliber product that we offer in the market subsequently.
Okay, that sounds exciting. So I'm looking forward to the release and looking at the capabilities of it because I'm very interested to see AI in play in every part of the manufacturing, and I'm always trying to research and see where it is being used and how, and really get inspired from what's happening right now and predict where we are heading in this regard. So looking forward to it, Pavan, indeed. And Pavan, tell me something. So what inspires you at the moment in your profession? So you are already in one of the highest positions that one can achieve working in a company. So what are your aspiration? How are you looking to drive innovation in the future, and how are you doing this?
So one thing like which clearly motivates me is that we are really in a I would say intersection point of serving the mankind and also like using the technology for this. So where like we are in such a kind of sweet spot, I would say. What I would think or what really like inspires me is that we are really able to offer a safe and affordable medicine which can be produced by the pharma manufacturers, and we providing our solutions really like enabling them to do that. So this is something like which really like inspires me, and then like it keeps me motivated to constantly think on what new solution that we can bring onto the table. In line with that, so we are constantly looking at how are we going to minimize the effort that the users are putting. Say, for example, the users are taking time to put in the master data. So how can really we simplify this? And in typical any project which is run in pharma, there is a validation of that particular computer system that takes place. So how can we bring down this effort of validation? So probably like we can look at the pre-validated kits that can go along with the solution, and how can really like we tailor that. These are really like something which we can look at as the computer software assurance, which again like is being really advocated in the industry. And how can we bring some of the solutions on top of what we currently have? Say like for example, like we have a LIMS product or we have the batch record management solution. So if we bring another solution on top of it, so probably like that combination really like provides a much higher value. So maybe you are not really like looking at heavy components, but look at lightweight components. So these are certain things which we constantly think and try to innovate and see how it really like bring the actual value to the users on the shop floor and like in the overall the pharma value chain of the quality management.
Great. So very inspiring to see, the thought behind the innovation. And Leslie Pavan, based on your impressive journey and career, what advice can you give aspiring pharma professionals to stay ahead of the future of manufacturing and excel in their career? What set of mind should they have to really bring their career to the best potential what they can?
I have really like a two cents to say. One is constantly stay updated with all the information that's available. In the current days or like in the current situation, the information is really abundantly available. Like we can just like get the information through all the channels that are really available currently. So one specific thing is to stay updated on what are the newer things which are there, especially like the regulatory guidelines which are really like coming from the FDA and other regulatory bodies, and also learn about the newer technologies which are coming in the market. So we are getting to see the newer ways and what it used to take so much of effort in the past, like we are able to do it in a very short time these days. So that is something which is possible because of the technology. And we are all using those technology in, day out of our day-to-day life. So the GMP professionals should really like constantly look at keeping themselves updated on the regulatory guidelines, learn about the latest technology, including artificial intelligence, machine learning, and not to really like a thing saying that like this is not probably something which is relevant to us. Rather, spend time may not be like going in too much of a depth, but definitely like having the knowledge of how that can impact or how that can benefit the activities that we do. That I think like will greatly help. And also looking at develop the understanding on the quality maturity model. So the quality maturity model is a concept which probably like is something which is really evolving, and a lot of people have started practicing that. So if the understanding is further developed on this, and then like in the each individual capacity that we are really like able to adopt more of this, I'm sure that like the organization goals are going to be aligned, and the guys can really contribute to the organization goals, and the success can be really seen by the respective organization. So my kind of to summarize, I would say the guys to stay really updated with all the information, learn the new technologies, and then develop the understanding of the quality maturity model.
Pavan, great. Thank you for this incredible advice. I think many people will find it very useful and hopefully they will follow it. So, thank you very much for this insightful talk. And I wish you best of luck to you and Caliber and the future endeavors.
Thank you, Ian, and it was really pleasure interacting with you. And the questions which really like have been very insightful, and it helped me to reflect some of the experiences like which I had gone through. And thank you so much for again bringing out this from me. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Qualitalks podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a 5-star review. If you want to learn more about GMP, please visit us at www.qualistery.com. Stay compliant and see you at the next one.